Picard's time in mind-bending second season has reached its midpoint, but what happened? What did I like? And what did I not enjoy so much? Before I get into this week's breakdown and review, please note this video contains spoilers, so if you've not seen Picard's latest episode Fly Me to the Moon, or any of Picard's second season for that matter, this video might not be for you. Let's warp into this. Picard and the Watcher resembling Laris arrive at her apartment. There, she identifies herself as Tallinn, a member of a group whose sole purpose is to protect single strings in a grand tapestry. With Picard explaining the situation and revealing his name, Tallinn tells him the person she's protecting is Renee, Picard's ancestor and astronaut in the Europa project. Renee is then seen in the cockpit of a spacecraft maneuvering into orbit. An alarm sounds and mission control warns of an impending collision with a satellite which Renee is unable to avoid. The whole thing is then revealed to be a training simulation for the actual flight, which is just days away. Renee appears frustrated and flustered by her performance. This was a solid opening teaser with the two scenes nicely woven together for some great pacing and dramatic effect with the reveal of Renee Picard's name patch. You can also count me as a fan of the inclusion of the bank vault in Tallinn's apartment, a clear nod and confirmation that this is indeed the same organisation last seen over 50 years ago in the original series episode Assignment Earth. Nice. Alone aboard the Sirena, the Borg Queen successfully accesses the ship's cellular frequencies, faking an attack to draw local enforcement to the chateau. An officer soon arrives and spots the shimmer of the Sirena's cloaking device. Investigating, the officer is drawn inside by the calls of a woman. The officer moves through the ship, tracing the voice to its source, which is revealed to be the Borg Queen, who strikes him with an appendage. The Queen calls out to a waking Jurati with the claims of having a surprise for the Doctor. Arming herself with a shotgun hung over the mantle, Jurati returns to the ship to find the Queen with the police officer alive, but bloody and ensnared. The Queen offers to let the officer go in exchange for Jurati, reminding the Doctor of her secret loneliness, the fear of being invisible, and how joining her would change that forever. Jurati points the shotgun towards the Queen and the officer, and pulls the trigger. A mostly successful sequence, Jurati and the Queen remain the show's most intriguing thread, with more excellent work by both Alison Pill and Annie Wershing as the deliciously creepy Borg Queen. I do have to admit getting very excited at the prospect of seeing the poor French police officer get assimilated, and yeah, I was pretty disappointed when this didn't happen. I'm also somewhat amazed at the lack of security on the ship, with the Queen able to access the computer despite multiple failed attempts, and people can just walk up to cloaked ships and walk inside? What's the point in cloaking devices? Also, as mentioned in last week's review, I remain confused that a large abandoned house in a somewhat populated area would contain so much stuff. Not only does this house, abandoned over half a century ago, still contain crates of wine, sofas and blankets, but it also contains a loaded shotgun? How did kids not find and abuse this shit decades ago? A minute away from the bus carrying Rios to the US-Mexico Sanctuary District, Raffi and Seven work to devise a plan to rescue their crewmate. Raffi, impatient and still emotional, doesn't have the patience for time travel rules, but Seven insists on a more careful approach and triggers an electromagnetic pulse which disables the bus. Taking this as a sign of their presence, Rios manipulates the guard into opening the cage, taking him out as Raffi and Seven neutralize the driver. The trio free the rest of the prisoners on the bus, one of whom Raffi mistakes for Elnor, before leaving to get back to the Sirena. Not much time for these three this week, which makes sense given the need to develop in other areas. It's an okay scene. I'm feeling much the same way I did last week. Raffi is incredibly petulant for a tenured Starfleet officer, while Seven is far more measured. I'm beginning to think they swapped the backgrounds for these characters. Surely it would make sense for a Fenris Ranger 7 to be the more impulsive and reckless of the two. No? I'm also not really sure what the point of the ice thread was, unless they plan on revisiting it. It does feel like a completed angle, however. I also want to know why Rios' comm badge still hasn't been mentioned. Previous episodes featured it heavily, and we didn't see Seven and Raffi recover it when they arrived at the clinic last week. Of course, it could still prove to be an important part of the story in future episodes, but if it doesn't, this is a majorly dropped ball with potentially huge implications. Back at her apartment, Tallinn reveals to Picard Renee's accomplished life and career that has led her to the all-important Europa mission. Tallinn also details Renee's struggles with anxiety and depression, a battle the young Picard is currently losing, jeopardizing her chances of making the flight. Picard and Tallinn look in on Renee's recent therapy session. Suspicious of the manipulative tone of the therapist, Picard asks to see his face, which he furiously identifies as Q. Much like Picard only needing seconds to determine the significance of 15 last week, he got wise to Q being Renee's therapist super quick, didn't he? I'll give this one to the episode though. I think we all probably guessed it was him with that hammy Einstein accent and messy white hair. The Renee mental health angle, while mostly fine, did raise some questions however. Real astronauts, I'm sure, deal with plenty of stuff. We are all human at the end of the day, but I'm also quite certain organisations like NASA employ strict psych testing to make sure their astronauts can handle the physical and mental rigours of working in space. It just seems strange to me that Renee, who is clearly openly struggling, is still part of such an important mission just 3 days out. Making a plea for the approval of human genetic research and augmentation, Dr. Adam Soong is soundly rejected, with the panel's chair pointing out Soong's unlawful past human experimentation as part of a venture with Spearhead Operations. His license and funding is revoked, and the Doctor is banned from any further research, much to his annoyance. Soong returns home to his daughter Kore, who suffers from a rare generic condition that prohibits direct contact with the outside world. Time is running out for Soong to find a cure for his daughter, with the Doctor growing increasingly desperate for options. That evening, whilst analysing blood samples, the Doctor is interrupted by messages on his computer screen and printer, soon revealed to be from Q. The next day, Soong meets with Q, who, after some dramatic and cryptic clues about his real identity, provides Soong with a vial of blue liquid in exchange for a future favour. Discovering the vial contains a stable cure for his daughter's condition, Soong tests the serum on Kore, who initially shows healthy signs. However, shortly after, Kore collapses to the ground, the effects of the cure having seemingly worn off. Soong confronts Q in his lab, asking for the real cure. Q offers to give the Doctor what he wants in exchange for the removal of an obstacle for both men, before cryptically asking Soong if the name Picard means anything to him. While the idea of a dedicated Doctor with an ill loved one isn't exactly groundbreaking stuff, I actually liked what they did here. I like that the show has remembered that the Soong family aren't all just about robotics, with Adam Soong's character clearly a nod to Enterprise's Arik Soong. While I'm not super into what we're seeing on the screen, with the exception of things like the protective drone shield and not so subtle hints to the Confederation's planet-wide protection layer, hinting at Soong's future reverence, I'm more interested in the mechanics of the plot, with the Doctor's desperation being cleverly exploited by Q. Here we have intent and plenty of urgency for Soong to be doing what he's doing, and it made for an intriguing watch. With last week revealing a potential depowered Q, I am curious however as to how Q created a cure for Kore's illness, and just how did he hack the computer and printer? He still has incredible powers of persuasion, so maybe he just, I don't know, outsourced all this. In any case, it was all pretty decent, with Spiner and Delancey's diner scene a highlight of the episode overall. Oh, and I also loved the subtle Rozhenko reference. More Rozhenko representation, please. Beaming back to the La Sirena, Raffi, Seven and Rios are greeted by a blood-splattered Jurati, who reveals she shot the Queen to prevent her from killing the police officer. Around the same time, Picard and Tallinn arrive and the crew debrief at the chateau. Questioning her as the sole cause of the nightmarish Confederation future, the group nevertheless plan to protect Renee, who is out in the open at a heavily protected mission gala that evening. With understanding of the error's coding techniques, Jurati volunteers to hack the event's security database to enable the crew to access, arriving at the gala under the guise of Holly Visser. The Doctor is quickly discovered as a party crasher, however, and is soon taken to the event's control room. Whilst there, Jurati thinks back to her earlier confrontation with the Queen, where it's revealed Jurati gave in to the Queen's relentless promises of togetherness, allowing the Queen to inject small assimilation tubes into her face. Back in the control room, Jurati sits, with the Queen appearing next to her, congratulating the Doctor on her clever little plan. Let's get this out of the way real quick. The idea of such a high-tech and heavily secured gala is laughable. Total crap. Designed to give the crew an obstacle to overcome. Renee's passport also reveals she was raised in France. Didn't Picard say literally last week that the Picard family emigrated to the UK after World War II? Whatever. Her date of birth is the same date as Star Trek First Contact's premiere. Focus on that instead, nerds. Now to the good stuff. I have to admit, being a bit of a sucker for an Ocean's 11 style heist, and quite enjoyed the jazzy instrumental cues as the crew went about infiltrating the event. I also loved the inclusion of Frank Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon, played by the band, a clear nod to the episode's title. The song, which is closely associated with early Apollo missions, also includes a reference to Jupiter, one of whom many moons is Renee's destination. Nice. But they saved the best stuff for last, with the surprising twist that Jurati has indeed given in to the Borg Queen's advances. Again, I do have questions regarding this new depiction of assimilation. It looks more like someone just ran a green screen through Jurati's face, and the invisible Queen reveal right at the end did evoke memories of Boltar and Six in Battlestar Galactica. They clearly want to tell a new story with the Borg, and I'm happy to see that. I guess I'd just prefer to see something that connects better with what we've seen in-universe previously. This was a packed episode which, while still far from perfect, raising so many more questions and threatening to ignore established plot threads, was still a lot of fun thanks to its new introductions and strong technical and overall production qualities. The board and pieces have been placed, and it does now appear that we're set for the show to begin moving towards its intriguing conclusion. I'm giving Fly Me to the Moon 3 stars out of 5. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below, and please like and subscribe to the channel for more Star Trek reviews, recaps and theories coming soon. Until next time, I'm the Trek Lad. Live long and prosper.